Hello, boys and girls. So we saw that some of you were still having a little bit of trouble with equivalent fractions. I thought I would try to clear up some misconceptions that you might have and some of the difficulty that you're challenged with. So you see behind me, I have a number line. I started my number line at 0 and it went all the way up to 1 whole. I divided my number line into 3 equal parts or thirds. So here I have 1/3, 2/3, and notice 3/3 is in the same location as 1 whole. Now, how many parts would we have on our number line if we doubled the number of parts? So I'm going to go ahead and double my number of parts that I have, and then I will go back and I will label them. Okay, so I just doubled the number of parts by splitting each third in half. So how many parts do we have now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we have 6 parts. So this location on my number line is 1/6. Notice at 1/3, I also have a sixth. It's going to be 2/6. 3/6. Notice at 2/3, I have 4/6, 5/6, and then at 1 whole, I have 6 sixes. So we did that on a number line, but how would we do that mathematically? If I wanted to find an equivalent fraction for, let's take 2/3. And I said what I did was I doubled the number of parts that I had on my number line. So I'm going to double the number of parts that I have in my numerator and my denominator. Notice we multiply our numerator and denominator by the same number, and what we're actually multiplying by is 1 whole, because 2/2 is equal to 1 whole. That's why equivalent fractions work. Now, if we go ahead and we do that multiplication, multiply the numerators, 2 times 2, that gives me 4. Multiply the denominators, 3 times 2, that gives me 6. So what I just found was an equivalent fraction for 2/3 that's equal to 4/6. And we see on our number line, 2/3 and 4/6 actually measure the same point on the number line. Okay, let's go back to our original third. Now this time, we're going to triple the number of parts that we have. So I'm going to divide each third into 3 equal parts. And how many parts do I have now? Well, let's count them. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 parts. So each part on my number line is going to be 1/9. Now notice I don't have a 9th at my 1/6 part because that is not an equal piece. So here's 2/9. Now my next 9th right here is 3/9, 4/9, 5/9, 6/9, 7/9, 8/9, and then 9/9 is at 1 whole. So we did that on a number line. How would we do that calculation if we wanted to now find an equivalent fraction for 2/3 that has 3 times as many parts on my number line? So now I'm going to multiply my numerator and denominator by 3 because I'm tripling the number of parts that I have in my numerator. And I'm also tripling the number of parts that I have in my denominator. So when I go ahead and I do that calculation, 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9. And we see on our number line over here, 2/3 is at the same location as 6/9, meaning they're equivalent fractions. We also saw that 4/6 is equivalent to 2/3. So it was a little easier to see it on a number line, but let's see if we can find another equivalent fraction for 2/3. Now, I can pick any number that I want to, as long as I multiply my numerator and denominator by the same number. Okay, so I'm going to pick 7. Now, what I'm saying is instead of dividing my thirds into 3 equal parts, I'm going to divide each third into 7 equal parts. So I'm not going to actually do it on my number line, but I'm going to do the calculation. I multiply my numerators. 2 times 7 is 14. I multiply my denominators. 3 times 7 is 21. So that is telling me that another equivalent fraction for 2/3 is 14 21s. And I know that is going to be at the same location on my number line. Okay, let's pick a different fraction besides 2/3 because equivalent fractions work with any fraction. Let's take 3/4. Now, I want to know how many 24ths 3/4 is equal to. So now how do I do this? And how do I know 24 is going to work? Well, I know 24 is going to work because 24 is a multiple of 4, right? So I want to look at what am I multiplying my 4 by in order to get 24? Well, I know 4 times 6 is equal to 24. So if I multiply my denominator by 6, I need to multiply my numerator by the same number. So 3 times 6 is 18. That tells me that 3/4 is also equivalent to 18 24ths. Now, let's do it a different way. I have 21 24ths. And now I want to know how many eighths 21 24ths is equal to. And how do I know 8 is going to work? Because 8 is a factor of 24. In this case, instead of multiplying by the same number, I'm going to divide by the same number. And it works the same way because dividing by the same number is really just dividing by 1, right? So 24 divided by what number is equal to 8? 24 divided by 3 is equal to 8. So if I'm dividing my denominator by 3, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to divide my numerator by 3. Look what I divided by, 3 over 3. Like I said, that's equal to 1. 21 divided by 3 is equal to 7. So I know that 21 24ths is equivalent to 7/8. So when it comes to equivalent fractions, what you do to the numerator, you do to the denominator, or what you do to the denominator, you do to the numerator. Either multiplication or division will work to find an equivalent fraction.